it is so nice. It can change your life if you have someone that you can get to delegate out those things that, first of all, you shouldn't be doing because they're not kind of the high value work in your business, but more importantly, the things that bring you down. If there is work that is going to bring you down, you shouldn't be doing it. Welcome to the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast, where being a badass has less to do with what you wear and what music you listen to, and everything to do with whether you've got the thriving online business of your dreams. I'm your renegade thinking Harvard Law grad turned online entrepreneur host, Bobby Klinck. In my years building my thriving business, the most important lesson I've learned is that being a badass online marketer isn't about secret strategies or ninja tactics. It's about doing the basic stuff right and showing the F up. So each week here on the show, you'll get clear, easy to execute guidance on how to build your online business and a swift kick in the ass or two to make sure you're getting it done. Hey there, welcome to episode 138 of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klinck, and today I'm going to be telling you about why you need to hire a VA. If you don't have one yet, I'm just going to tell you, you need to take the plunge because it's something that candidly, I'm going to tell you, most of us wait too long to do. I candidly waited way too long to hire my first VA and to get my first help. But what I will tell you is that hiring a VA can change your life. I mean, it can be one of the best decisions you make in your business because it's going to allow you to do a lot of the things that you need to be doing in your business. So I'm going to talk about that today. I'm going to talk about kind of why you need to be hiring a VA and why you need to be thinking about building your team long term. Now, I'm going to talk about it again at the end, but I'm going to talk about it briefly here. Next week is another installment of my monthly workshops. And this time, we're going to be talking all about your 4% work. How do you find the work that you actually should be doing in your business? And how do you figure out the stuff you shouldn't be doing? Now, if you listened to the Foundations Friday episode last week, episode 136, I talked about how we need to all work on being effective, not efficient. And, you know, that was something we talked about there. But in the workshop, I'm going to go way deeper. I'm going to kind of give you ways to go about doing it, ways to kind of categorize work, ways to really think through the process and decide what should you be doing and what shouldn't you be doing so that you can ditch the overwhelm and start focusing on the work that actually matters and makes progress for your business. So if you'd like to join me for the workshop, get more info, you can find out more by heading over to bobbyklinck.com/March 2020 workshop. Again, bobbyklinck.com/March 2020 workshop. So that's where you can find out about it. But now let's dive into today's episode. I want to talk about how hiring a VA can be probably the smartest decision you can make in your business. Now, I've told this story many times that hiring was actually an area where I had a huge block. And it was this thing I realized last year, I think it was like last June, I kind of had this realization finally because I really am a fire, ready, aim kind of guy. I don't wait. I get an idea and boom, I do it. But hiring had always been this thing that I couldn't seem to actually do. I knew I needed to hire. I knew I needed to get help. But for some reason, I just, I would find reasons not to. And it would be things like, oh, well, all of a sudden my law firm's busy, so I don't have time to train. And I would make excuses. And I recognized finally that I did have some blocks about it. And my blocks were different, I guess, than most people's. My blocks were that, candidly, I had hired an overseas VA at some point a long time ago when I was trying to use some inbound marketing to help my law firm. The problem was I hadn't taken the time to figure out or think through what could I have a VA do. And I didn't have a need. Like I didn't have a Kartra or Kajabi where I needed someone to be able to go in and build landing pages and things like that on a regular basis. So I ended up paying this woman for, I don't know how many months to really do busy work. And so I think I had that in my mind. And then also in my law firm, I had an associate who, when I kind of made the pivot to the online business, I had to let her go because I didn't have work for her. And so it was not her fault. She did great work. And so that stung me, if you will. It hurt because I was like, oh man, that really sucked. And so I had these hangups. And so I went for a long time without hiring. So if you know my story, in 2018 was kind of my year where I started to have success in the online space. And I quickly scaled to over $200,000 in that first year. And not even in that first year, really, it was from like April through December. I think I hit $250,000 in revenue during that time period. And I was a solopreneur. I was doing it all myself up to that point. Then I did hire a VA, and I hired a VA at the beginning of 2019, and it was important. It was something that had a big impact on me. I hired a VA to handle my social media, basically, and that was great. But I wasn't using that VA in the right way. And so I want to talk about ways that hiring a VA can really help you. Now, a couple of things I want to tell you is that when you're going to hire a VA, there are different kinds of VAs, and you have to think about what you need in your business. And what I mean by that is that you're not going to necessarily have someone who can do high level strategy work and also all the technical stuff and maybe design work and social media. And maybe they'll do all that, but they're not going to be great at it. So you need to figure out, do you need someone to do admin work, or do you need someone to take over your social media posting work? And figure out those kinds of things within your business. But just ask yourself this question. What if you could offload 5 to 10 hours a week of the work that drains you the most? Whatever that happens to be for you, what if you could get that off your plate? What could you do with that 5 to 10 hours a week? And I know a lot of people look at it and say, man, I got to pay this person. And if you hire an onshore US VA, you're likely going to be spending $25, $30 an hour, somewhere in that range often is what you'll pay for a VA here in the US. So at 5 hours a week, that's $100 to $150. And so I know that for a lot of people, that's an expense that they're thinking about. And they're saying, is it worth it for me to pay, for example, $600 a month to have someone working 5 hours a week? Well, the question is, if you could actually, let's say, make a month's worth of progress on the big stuff, on creating your course, on launching your product, on, nurturing your people, on getting to the point that your messaging is dialed in, damn straight it's worth $600 a month. That's a no-brainer. But you have to think about it that way, because you have to think about it as being freeing up some time to do other stuff. And some of it, I'll tell you, is literally just the emotional things too. And this, I think, is what a lot of entrepreneurs don't think about. And so I'm going to talk to you about what's happened as I hired that VA initially. Then I transitioned to a full-time employee who was my social media market manager, et cetera, but wasn't doing traditional VA work. So I really never had a traditional VA who was kind of an executive assistant until November of last year, November of 2019. And the idea of the kind of VA hired at that point, who I now have a VA doing this. This is someone who has a couple of jobs. One is my VA sorts the emails that come into my inbox. So you have to ask yourself this, but I had a lot of email coming in. I'm not talking about emails from if you're a listener and you email me, I want to see that. I'm going to respond to that, et cetera. But I'm talking about the emails that I would get that were just random. And again, it's not a ton of work, but I still had to do something with that stuff. And maybe it was a matter of setting up rules so that certain things automatically go here, there, and yonder. So there's things like that. But then there was the basic customer support. Until November of 2019, I was doing all my own customer support. And what that meant was that if someone needed, couldn't log in, I was one who would, first send the email saying, okay, well here, I'm going to resend the credentials, and I would do that. Then sometimes they'd come back, still can't get in. And so I would have to troubleshoot back and forth with them. But also I was the one, and here's where a lot of the kind of mental stuff came in. If someone wanted to cancel, I was the one seeing that and dealing with it. Now, I'm not saying you should turn a blind eye to kind of how your memberships are performing and things like that. But what I'll tell you is, I don't know about you, but I don't know an entrepreneur in the world who can see a cancellation come through and not kind of be bummed about it. And it would bring me down, and I didn't even realize it until after the fact. And so now I don't see any of that stuff. My VA sorts my inbox, tells me what I need to be looking at. Again, and I've been very clear, if it's like a substantive email from a fan, I'm responding to it. Give it to me, tell me that's mine to look at. But does all of that other stuff, deals with the customer support, deals with cancellations, deals with all of those issues, so I don't have to. And that means, and it's kind of funny, I was talking about this recently with one of my friends, Jillian, who was on episode 63, talking all about content. And so I was talking to her recently, and she was talking about how all of a sudden it seems like I am everywhere. And I said, literally, it's because I've got this team now that's doing that stuff for me. And so it is so nice. It can change your life if you have someone that you can get to delegate out those things that, first of all, you shouldn't be doing because they're not kind of the high value work in your business, but more importantly, the things that bring you down. If there is work that is going to bring you down, you shouldn't be doing it. You should have someone do it. And so again, another example of that is if you are an introvert to your core, if you're the opposite of Bobby, if you're the opposite of me, and literally interacting with people on an ongoing basis is going to drain you like crazy, well, maybe you get a VA who is your community manager for an hour a day and can manage your Facebook groups and can engage on your behalf so you don't have to. See, that's how using a VA strategically can change your life. So you can do the things that will actually move your business forward, and you can have other people do the things that will move your business forward, but that you can't do because it's not right for you or because whatever the reason is. And so I'm going to encourage you to find a way to get a VA if at all possible. And again, I know you're going to resist or a lot of you will resist because I did for a long time. But I will tell you that when you make the decision, after you do it, after you take the advice, come back and say thank you to me if you listen to me, because it will actually make things so much better for you because all of a sudden you will be freed up. And again, when I'm talking about a VA here, I'm not talking about someone who you're bringing in to do a single project. You can do that too. I'm talking about someone who's going to come in and kind of be part of helping you on an ongoing basis, taking the work that you shouldn't be doing, either because it's not right for you, your personality, or because it's just not the stuff that really moves the ball forward, but it has to be done. So those are, the big reasons to hire yourself a VA. So my call to action, get yourself a VA. Start at 5 hours a week if you need to, and you see what it feels like. And then, I bet you'll end up increasing it because you'll find that those 5 hours, you're actually able to generate more revenue than it's costing you. Now, if you want to learn and help kind of figure out what is the work that you should be doing and what's the work that either you shouldn't be doing at all or you should be delegating to a VA because you're not sure about how to do that analysis yourself, that's what my workshop next week is all about. Like I said, it's called Your 4% Work. I explain why I call it that. You've heard a lot of entrepreneurs probably talk about doing your 5% work, et cetera. I call it 4% work because I think that's actually correct, not the 5%. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what is the stuff that's most important for you to be doing, and then also how to kind of sort through the other stuff and figure out what to do and what either to delegate or to stop doing entirely. If you would like to join me, I'd love to have you. Head over to bobbyklinck.com/March 2020 workshop, and you can find out about it. Again, bobbyklinck.com/March 2020 workshop to find out more. But that's it for this week, for this episode and for this week. I'll see you again with 2 more episodes next week. But until then, go out and build the badass business of your dreams. That's it for this episode of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. Make sure to tune in next time. And in the meantime, go out and build the badass business of your dreams.